Hello and good morning to everyone. So our today's lead code question is 696, that is counting binary substrings. So in this question we are given a string s and we have to return the number of non-empty substrings that have the same number of zeros and ones. And one more condition is there, all the zeros and ones in these substrings are grouped consecutively, right? So and substrings that occur multiple times are counted the number of times they occur. So basically we are given a strings of zeros and ones, and we have to return all those substrings where count of zeros equal to count of ones plus one more condition, those zeros and ones should be grouped together. So this will be a valid substring, but this 0101 is invalid because see, this one and these zeros are not grouped together, right? So these two conditions should be there, right? So if you'll see the example, so here 00110011. So what are the possible substrings? The possible substrings are 0011, 01 from here, then 1100, 1100, then 10, again 0011 and 01. So total possible substrings are 6. So the answer is 6. Next is we are given this string as 10101. So what are the possible ones? See, 10, then 01, then again 10, again 01. So four possible uh, answers are possible. So if you'll see the constraints, so the string length can be up to 10 ki power 5. So we are left with either big of n solution or big of n log n. Big of n square won't be working here, it will give us TLE, right? So we have to formulate a solution which will either work in big of n or big of n log n. So I'll be explaining you three different approaches. So let's see one each by one. So first is approach 1. So in approach 1 what we do is we convert the string into consecutive group sizes. So let's see this example 0011 So see first zeros. So how many zeros? 2. Then 3 ones. Then again 2 zeros. And then again 2 ones, right? So we made a new array called as group this way, right? Then what we do is we will take two groups, one group of zeros and one group of ones. So suppose we have taken 00 and 111, that is 2 and 3. So how many substring we can form from here? We can form either this substring 01, or if we add these two elements also, then we form 0011, right? So we can form two substrings that satisfies our question conditions. So if you notice, if we'll take minimum of 2 comma 3, is it giving us 2 only, right? Then we take the next group, then again we take minimum of 3 comma 2, again we find two substrings, then next group minimum of 2 comma 2 is again 2. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 total we get our answer is 6, and that is our answer. So the answer at any point is minimum of group of I comma group of I plus 1, right? So let's see the code of this approach. So first of all we have taken a vector of groups to store all the groups, and then we are using a loop to find all the groups. So what we are doing is if current element is equal to the previous element, then we are increasing our count, else we are pushing the count into the group and again made the count to 1, right? Once we get the groups array, what we do is we iterate over the groups array, and then at every point we take minimum of groups of I comma groups of I plus 1, right? And at the end we return the answer. So in this approach the time complexity is big of n and the space complexity is also big of n. So can we reduce this space complexity? Like, is there a way to reduce this space complexity? So yes, we can reduce this space complexity also. So how we will be doing that? So let's see. So if you have noticed in the above solution, we at a time we need only two groups, right? We only need two groups, that is the previous group and the current group. So suppose if you have taken this, we need this previous group and this current group, right? And in next iteration we need this previous group and this current group, and then this previous and this current. So is there any need of array that we have used in above solution? So I say no, there is no need. We can use two variables to store the previous length and the current length, right? So if you'll see the code, what we have done, we used a previous length as 0 and current length as 1, and then if we are getting our current element to previous element, we increase our current length by 1. Else suppose we are 0 0 1 1 1 0 0 1 1. Suppose we are here right now, we are here and previous is 0. So at this point this previous is equal to this current is equal to previous, so we increase our current by 1 to 2, so 2, and previous is 0, and now 1 is there, so 1 is not equal to 0, so we go into the else condition, and then answer plus equal to minimum of previous, that is 0, and then current is 2, right? So answer will be increased by 0, and then we make our previous as the current value, so our previous now has become 2, that is these zeros. Then again we count these three ones, so in this case our current will become 3, and now at this point 0 is not equal to 1, so answer plus equal to minimum of previous is 2, current is 3, so answer will be increased by 2, right? And at the end we will be returning the answer. So if you'll see, time complexity is big of n, and space complexity is constant time, because we are not using any other array to store the answer, we are just using two variables. So this is better than the previous approach in terms of space complexity. Let's see the next approach, that is approach 3, and approach 3 is to expand around boundaries. So what is boundary? So boundary is a point where on one side either 0 is there and another side 1 is there, or 1 0. So like this is a boundary between 1 and 0, so what we do is we'll find the boundaries and then expand in both directions equally. So right, suppose this is example 0 0 0 1 1 1, we get this boundary, right? Then we take 1 here and 0 1, so we get 0 1. Then we again expand the boundaries, then we get 0 0 1 1, again expand it more, then we get 0 0 0 1 1 1. So see, we are getting all the possible three substrings that are satisfying our condition, right? Left side, right side, and count equal expansions, right? So let's see the code of this also. So here what we are doing is, first we are finding with this condition, if s of I is not equal to s of I plus 1, with this condition we are finding our boundary point. And once we get the boundary point, what we are doing is we are moving to the left and to the right. So left pointer will shift this side and right pointer will shift this side until our condition is satisfied, right? And we are increasing our answer, and at the end we are returning the answer. So this is basically two pointer approach. We are shifting one pointer to the left and one pointer to the right from the boundary point. So this is a third approach. Now let's see one more approach, That is, if maybe if you have started solving, then this approach has come to your mind, but this won't be working. Let's see why it won't work. So using prefix sum, so what we do is we consider 0 as +1 and 1 as -1, right? So suppose this is our string 00110011, and initially the sum is here 0, so we get a 0, then we increase the count by 1, again 0, count by 2, now we get 1, so what we do is we decrease by -1, so it become 1 0, again 1 2, so we stored all the sums in the prefix sum array. Now see, here 1 is there and here also 1 is there, so this part has the number of zeros equal to number of ones in this part, that is we can see 0 1, right? Again if you see this part, 2 and 2, here 2 and 2, so from index this to this, that is here to up to 4 elements, the number of zeros equal to number of ones. But the issue we are facing here is, in our question we are also asked that all the zeros and all the ones are grouped together, but in this approach there is no way we can find whether those zeros and those ones are grouped together or not, because here 1010 will also be an answer, but see these zeros and these ones are not grouped together, so that's why this approach has failed, right? So with this I'm completing this solution, so I hope I am able to explain you all the three approaches, and also able to explain you why this approach 4 has failed. So if you like the solution, please make sure to like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you.